Joining us right now, Coach David Culley. Coach, back from the break, but how much of a break was it really? More for the players than the coaches. Tell us about how you spent the days.
Well, you're right. It is for the players. It's a good time for them to heal. It's a good time for those guys to kind of catch a breath a little bit. But for coaches, I mean, we don't spend the long nights here during this break, but we never get away from football, Mark. I mean, it's all we're always there. I was home, and I was looking at something, and my wife asked me who was I thinking about. She said, "Oh, I'm sorry, you're thinking about football." So but no, we never get away from it. I mean, it's always there, especially during the season. And but it was good to kind of take a deep breath. Unfortunately, after a loss, but it gives you a chance to get back to get refreshed and get started, especially going to Buffalo to play this week. I mean, we're looking forward to that, and we feel good about having the time off.
Coach, I know when you get in your office and you get the coaches together and you study film, you're watching all 22 and you're watching all these different cool copies that coaches get. Can you get anything from the actual broadcast itself? And I ask that because I was actually watching, I think it was the Raiders, and I hear Derek Carr yell, Damian Lillard, Damian Lillard. Like he says something that you could hear. Do you watch the actual the broadcast, the TV broadcast, because of some of the things you can hear?
Well, myself personally, obviously I could have watched a bunch of games this weekend. I don't watch very many of them. I kind of get away from it from that standpoint. But our staff does watch the TV. We get the TV copy of the game. We get everything that's been said during the game. And there are things that you can get from that, going all the way back to Peyton Manning with the Omaha. I mean, everybody knew Omaha on one. So. But those, you do get things from there, and you study that, and then what happens is you get enough of that for after 2 or 3 ball games, you kind of get a little pattern, and you kind of know, oh, this is what's happening. But it's important to be able to hear those kinds of things, and we've got people that do that.
Is your internal injury report one of the first things you look at when you get back to the office, or are you on the phone all weekend? Like, how's everybody doing? Because I know you have some wounds to heal, that sort of thing, going into this week.
Mark, what ends up happening is that those guys that are hurt, they come in every day. They come in. They came in on Saturday. They came in on Sunday. They're here today, and it's a constant. That never stops. And basically, but we do it in the mornings. They got all day to be able to do what they need to do. But that's the most important thing and that's why having those extra days is so important at this time to be able to get some guys healed, and guys that didn't play in the game gives them a little bit more time to get ready. But it's good. It's good at this point for us because we've had a few injuries, and then going into the schedule that we're getting ready to hit into right now, it's important to have those guys back, and these extra days will be beneficial for us.
Coach, 3 games in, and then you get this little mini bye. As you've had a chance to kind of step back maybe this weekend and kind of think through the start of the season, what have you liked about the way that you've played the first 3 games, and what are some of the things that you feel like, hey, we've got to kind of fix this going forward, or it's going to end up being a problem down the road?
The thing I really like about this football team is how hard they play. And they play for 60 minutes. And not that that's surprising, but you don't know until you actually go do it. And, this is all new for us and for about 30 guys on this team that wasn't here before, this coaching staff. But just how hard they play. But the thing that we always talk about is to win a football game, you got to keep from losing. And that means that you got to take care of the ball. That means that you got to cut down on the penalties. A couple of games we didn't take care of the ball, and we basically don't have our penalties down to where we like to have them, especially pre-snap penalties. And those are the 2 things that I feel like moving forward that we can get much better at. And if we do, we're going to be able to finish some of these games that we haven't been able to finish on the other side.
How beneficial is this long week? We had a short week last week, but the long week, if you will, for Davis Mills, going into the second start for him, and whatever he was able to do over the weekend, review video, however you're handling him, how important is that heading into Sunday?
Very important, Mark, and I'm going to tell you why. Is he's just like a coach. We had that little time off. Excuse me. But, I mean, he's watching video. He got his iPad. He knows the situation he's in. And the biggest thing and the biggest way that those guys learn is by seeing. And basically, he actually goes back and watch all the stuff that happened with Tyrod in the first game and a half, looking at those things and seeing the things that we could do better. And he's a really good student of the game, and I know that he'll have a much better comfort level now going into Buffalo than he had going into this one because he's had a full week of practice. He understands now about game planning wise exactly where we're going with it and what we're going to do, and I feel like it'll be beneficial to him.
Coach, going to Buffalo, you've been there, I think, at some point.
I've
yeah,
been there. Yes, I have.
You've definitely been there. I know you're probably not one for reunions, but what's it like going back and facing a team you obviously know a lot of the coaches? You know, Sean there, Sean McDermott, head coach there. What kind of your thoughts going in to face Buffalo? We know it's a great football team, but just for you personally to go back to a place where you coached, what's that like for you?
Well, that football team, I was there with Sean when we first started 4 years ago when he started building that thing. And if you go back and you look and you see them now 4 years later, you kind of see where they're headed. And I've, being there and having been a part of that, I know that here we're doing the right things because I've seen what it's like and what you have to do that. But when I go back, I mean, I'm going back there to whip their butts.
Right.
And I got a lot of respect for those guys up there. Sean's done a heck of a job, offensively, defensively, and special teams. I know those guys very well. I know a bunch of those guys on that football team that are playing right now. I actually had Josh as a rookie when I was up there. And I know they've got some guys in there that when I was there they drafted that are playing very, very well for them right now. And all of those things right now has put them in a situation to be one of those football teams that we are at some point are going to be.
It's a unique environment. I mean, you've coached, obviously, worked for some franchises that are really tough to play at. Baltimore, Kansas City, Arrowhead Stadium's incredible. But there's something about Buffalo, isn't there, Coach? The history of it there. I know it's an AFL team. Western New York, the fans, the Bills Mafia. Tell us about that.
Well, they're one of the original AFL teams. I think 1960 they all came in, and they got a great history up there in the AFL. And then obviously, that's a franchise that at one point nobody in the history has ever done this. They went to 4 straight Super Bowls. Unfortunately, lost them. So there's a lot of history there. But that fan base up there, you talk about the Bills Mafia. That environment up there now is like a college environment. I mean, you're in Western New York now. You're up there. You're up there close to Canada. Yeah. So they love their place. They love their football team. They're very passionate, just like our fans are here. And it's a unique environment up there. Probably one of the better tailgating groups in the country. Now I think it has a lot to do with those buffalo wings and the beer that they have up there.
Yeah, I would imagine the tables all fear for themselves when fans are jumping off vans and things like that. Josh Allen, quarterback for the Bills, like you said, Coach, you were there when he was a rookie. And we've watched from afar. We've watched him grow. What have you seen in him that makes him so problematic to try and prepare for this week?
Well, first of all, he can make every throw. He's very athletic. He's very smart. He's the prototype of what the Buffalo Bills franchise had been looking for with Jim Kelly.
Yeah.
And this kid is more athletic. He's bigger. He's stronger. I don't know. Maybe he and Patrick Mahomes may have the biggest arms in this league. But he is a great kid, And when we drafted him, when I was there, we knew we were getting a guy that could be the quarterback for a long time, and it looks like he's on his way. Hopefully, we can derail him a little bit on Sunday. But they've done a heck of a job with him up there. Brian Daboll, the offensive coordinator, has put together a very good group on offense around him to help him become successful, and they're doing a nice job up there.
Coach, every week we visit with Brandon Cooks on the radio, and every week we see him play, more importantly, and he's playing really well for you, third in the league in catches and yards. Not that it's about stats at all, but he gets the ball even though the defenses know that he's likely to get the ball, yet you find ways to get him open. Can you discuss his performance so far for us?
It's not surprising, Marc. He's been that way. He was that way last year. Although he didn't, there were some games where he wasn't out there, but he's just Mr. Consistent for us, and he's developing a little relationship that he had with Tyrod that he started now to develop with Davis, and a lot of times those calls aren't just to him. It just so happens that he's breaking open. He's getting open. He's one of those kind of guys that understands our offense very well. He's been in it for a while, and he's just done a tremendous job of just being Mr. Consistent for us.
Coach, last week against Carolina, you end up getting 3 sacks. I think it was maybe from second to third quarter you get those 3 sacks. But I think what's impressive about it is the fact that you're not blitzing to get those sacks. You know, some teams they got to send the kitchen sink to go get a blitz just because they got to have more. Your guys seemingly are winning up front. What are you getting from your defensive line and the pass rush that you like? And is there anything more you want to see coming from that group?
Well, you know, Bobby King has done a great job with that group. The thing about that group is we talked about our football team, about playing hard.
Yeah.
Man, both of our lines, our offensive line and our defensive line, nobody plays harder than those guys.
Yeah.
And at defensive line, we've got some depth there. Those guys have been rotating in and out, and they've been fresh. They've been really getting after the quarterback. As a matter of fact, you know, it was unfortunate for us, but they're actually forced about 2 fumbles in that ball game that we weren't able to get simply because they're relentless when they're playing. And they're going to continue to do that. And as they continue to do that, we'll start to end up getting those plays from them. But I'm really happy with where they are right now.
Are those the kinds of things that Lovie Smith says, yeah, that's a check mark, that's obviously a real plus? You got the ball out, you didn't get the ball, you didn't retrieve it, but at least you dislodged the ball, and that's got to be one of the goals for this defense on a weekly basis.
Exactly right. And it's just unfortunate that we didn't get it, but they play that way. I mean, Mark, they practice that way. And it also helps us offensively in practice when we're doing those things, because when you come through that line with those guys, especially with our show team, when they're playing the other team's defense, our defense is going to snatch that ball. Our defense is going to do everything they can to get that ball out, whether it's with an interception or with a fumble. And it's helped us offensively be that way too. But that's what they coach. That's what we practice. And they're doing a very good job of that.
Coach, when you look at their defense, one of the things that stands out outside of the fact that they're very good and very athletic, they all seemingly played together for a while. You think about Hyde and Poyer and Tre'Davious, they've all been together for 4 or 5 years. Tremaine's been in the middle for 3 years. The front's been together. Obviously, throw Epinesa in there. But they've been all together. How much does that help a unit, offense, defense, or special teams, when you have that sort of continuity year after year after year?
Well, when you talk about playing team defense, you have to know each other. You have to trust each other. And those guys now going into, I think now maybe 3 years, some of them 4 years of playing together. And that secondary they got with the 2 safeties, Poyer and Hyde, I tell you what, when I was there, and they was a lot younger at that time, I mean, those are 2 of the best pair in the game.
Yeah.
And Tre'Davious is one of the best corners in the game. They just do a great job of playing team defense.
Yeah.
Coach, what's it going to take to run the football better? I know that's something you really want to do.
Well, we're going to execute a little better. You know, we did not execute as well in the run game as we have previously 2 ball games. We've got some things that we're going to do scheme-wise that I think will end up helping us a little bit that we haven't done, that we've had in our hip pocket. And we're going to open up things a little bit more and just continue to get it up in there and do what we know we need to do in order to be successful.
All right, Coach. I always want to know when the schedule comes out where are cold weather games, and I pray for them to be in September or maybe early October. And the dream came true with Cleveland and Buffalo earlier in the season. How helpful is it to not have a December game in Buffalo?
Very helpful. I've been there when there's been 28 inches of snow. I've been there when not only were 20 inches of snow, the wind was howling.
Was that the Joe Webb game?
That was the Joe Webb game.
Yeah,
exactly.
we had Joe Webb here for a while.
You sure did. As a matter of fact, they were playing the Indianapolis Colts that day.
In all white.
In all white. Exactly right.
In the snow.
And I'll tell you this. On the sideline, you could only see about to the middle of the field. You had no idea what was going on the other side. I mean, but one thing about playing up there is that stadium kind of sits down in a hole.
Yeah.
It's a unique place. The wind is always an issue up there, regardless of the weather. But it looks like we're going to have about 70, 75 up there, which is just like excellent for us. Yeah. And we're looking forward to it.
Yep.
Coach, Andy Reid was released from the hospital. I know you're close with him, and that had to affect you to see what happened with him on Sunday.
Had a conversation, had a text with him, and he's doing fine. The thing about those things is, Mark, you just never know. I know the kind of person he is. I know how he works, and those things happen. But he's doing fine. He's going to be okay, and You know, like I said again, he's one of the best human beings I've ever been around, and obviously his coaching resume speaks for itself. And but I know he'll be back and be back just as good as ever.
Coach, I got to imagine that your wife was in your ear about that, because I know my wife hears about something like that. She's like, you got to take care of yourself. I'm like, it's Andy Reid. He's a friend. He's not me. But I would imagine your wife had something to say to you about, hey, making sure you're staying in good shape and that you're staying okay.
Well, the first thing that when we heard about what happened with Andy was they said, okay, dehydration.
Yeah.
The first thing she said to me was, you don't drink enough water. And then the other thing is about the sleep.
Yeah.
You know, well, I coach.
Yeah.
I don't get a lot of sleep.
Right.
You know, you don't during the season. And then the next thing is nutrition. Well, I'm a junkie. So, I mean, I can't help it. I am what I am. As long as the doc is telling me that I'm doing okay right now, I'm still going to eat my Hershey's. I'm still going to go ahead and eat my junk and go on from there.
Yeah.
All right, we have the Amegy Bank Ask Coach question of the week, and this one is, of all the coaches you worked with, all the head coaches you've worked with, and among them Andy Reid and John Harbaugh and Sam Weish and also Bill Cowher, Sean McDermott, who has the best sense of humor? Who is the funniest guy to be around?
People would never think this, but you don't ever see it much out of Andy. But Andy Reid has the best dry humor you ever want to be around. It is unbelievable how funny he is. And, you know, just last night in the text, you know, I texted him, and this was my text. My text was, Coach, don't let 4 turnovers get you dehydrated, you know. so and it was just a joke, you know, and that's typical Andy, you know.
Yeah.
You know, he texts me back and says, I know, you know. But he is unbelievably funny.
All right. Well, thanks so much for being with us. We appreciate the time, and good luck this week against Buffalo, Coach.
You're welcome, Marc and John.